space?
I don't have any fears because it is Star Times or it is B or C. I have the same anxieties, even if it's just the government being in control of this process. And let me explain why. At NMC, we've made a case a long time ago, and this also is based on consultations that we have had stakeholders across the country. Even if, as we speak tomorrow and the following day, there will be a forum in the Volta region at O on this same subject. And the view overwhelmingly what comes across is that it is the multiplex, the new transmission system that will deliver television content free to air to viewers in the country should be in independent hands so that its independence and its freedom will be guaranteed. If you think about it like that, already the Constitution has provisions on the independence and freedom of the media. And this does constitute state-owned media. The transmission system being put in place with government money is owned by the state and delivers media content. It cannot be anything but state-owned media. And the governance of state-owned media has been placed by the Constitution in the hands of the National Media Commission. So it looks strange that a company is being formed of which the National Media Commission is said to be a member of its board. It should be the National Media Commission that forms that company and governs that process.
So what's the position of the NMC on this?
The NMC, the view that this process, once the hardware is in place, which the government is putting in place, whoever supports the government, whoever technical process, financial, technological, and all that is a different matter. But once the thing is in place and it belongs to the state and delivers media content, then it should be the National Media Commission that must regulate its operation.
There are questions about capacity. Does the NMC has the capacity to manage it?
Well, the NMC would not be the one to run it day to day. The NMC does not run GBC or Graphic or GNA or New Times Corporation, but these are all state-owned media under the management, so to speak, constitutional management of the National Media Commission, in the sense that the Media Commission appoints its board, and that would be the same for the company. No one is arguing that the Media Commission would be the operators of the multiplex, but the Media Commission would appoint the board, would be in charge of that process. You see, where we are today, our constitution, very, very well crafted, captures what we want to achieve in terms of the media space. That is no government, and it is not this government or the previous or what, but no government should have control over the media. Now, if you have a multiplex delivering media television content, which is under the control of a company formed by the government, then the question we should ask is, did we go or did we come?
Would that amount to a breach of the Constitution?
I am not a constitutionalist, but I think yes, it does. But of course, if that were to happen, we'd all have to have a good look at its consequences.
So that is the chairman of the NMC, Kwesi Jan Apenting. He is not a constitutionalist. He is right indeed, he is not. We'll be speaking to a private legal practitioner, John Kpebu, on this matter. But let's go on the line now and speak. Martin Kpebu, I must say. Let's go on the line now and speak to Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa, Suleiman Brahma. Mr. Brahma, thank you so much for your time. Mr. Martin, you're there as well? Very well. Let me start with you. Mr. Brahma. You've been monitoring this situation for some time now. What's your take?
Well, I think it's unfortunate where we've gotten to with this hope, because quite obviously the entire process of digital migration in this country had really started on a very good note, given how inclusive the process had been and the fact that there had been consensus in terms of how the rollout should be, who is in charge of what, who manages the channel transmission, the idea of setting up a PPP company to manage the process. I think that one would have thought that where we had gotten to, by now, we would have even switched on. And the fact that we have spent the taxpayers' money, to build a number of transmitters. I'm learning that about 40 or so of these transmitters have already been built, a number of them already connected to the national grid, which means that they can be ready to be switched on. But I think that the problem, is coming from the Ministry of Communication. And
okay, hold on for me, Mr. Brahma, before you go on. These transmitters you're talking about, is it transmitters mounted by the Chinese firm?
No, I mean, I'm talking about the one that is said to have been built by KNET, a local company. And I'm saying that the problem is coming from the ministry, because I was surprised listening to the Deputy Communications Minister and the fact that he couldn't, categorically say, for example, such a lecture exists or it doesn't exist, and speaking as though he was also speculating. And my worry is that the ministry over the last 18 months, I think, has gotten itself involved in a number of deals that always will raise controversy, lacks clarity, clearly demonstrates that it is operating sometimes without transparency. And so I think that we shouldn't have been where we are now. And again, I must say that listening to Sam George, I was also surprised, because one of the issues that for me is legitimate that Giba has raised is the fact that this Chinese firm was even granted some tax exemption through a parliamentary process.
Right.
And you ask yourself, if the same parliamentarians, and this is somebody coming from the communications committee, they were the ones who granted this exemption to this Chinese firm, why would he now be talking as though it is something that he's not aware of?
Well, so yesterday I spoke to him, and he said that it did not come to the Communications Committee in Parliament. He said it may have gone through the Finance Committee. It did not come to the Communications Committee.
Well, but whatever it is, I suppose that it's something that they ought to have known. And of course, at this stage, given the documentation that he's referencing and all of that, this thing shouldn't happen on the blind side of the Communications Committee of Parliament. But having said that, I think we have to put the blame on the Ministry of Communication. And I think that Giba has raised very, very legitimate concerns.
Okay.
We ought to have been guided by processes that, have taken place in a few countries in Africa where the digital migration has been highly successful, like Kenya. And we have their example to guide us. So one wonders why we are where we are, and why the ministry is pushing us back after we have spent so much of the taxpayers' money, in consultations, developing the digital migration policy for the country, and all of that. And personally, for me, when in the midst of this, I hear that our president had a meeting with the president of StarTimes, our first lady was among the first to visit the headquarters of StarTimes, and StarTimes have donated a number of football kits to the first lady, then you ask yourself what really is going on. And I think that it's important that we build consensus.
What do you think is going on?
Sorry?
What do you think is going on with the premises that you've just cited?
Well, I think that all these things are happening as part of the agenda of the Chinese to have a foothold in Africa. And I think that they've made that very, very clear. Okay. They are not hiding it at all. And I believe that as a country, we shouldn't mess up with this resource that we have in terms of the airways.
Okay. Whilst we're not messing it up, we have to find out from what the Constitution says and whether or not there are any breaches at all. Mr. Brahima, hold on for me. Let me bring in Martin Kpebu into this conversation. Mr. Kpebu, thank you so much for your time this evening here on Top Story. We've heard from the NMC boss. He's saying that he's not a constitutionalist, basically saying that he's not an expert when it comes to the Constitution. Certainly you are. Are there any breaches we're looking at here?
Definitely. Well, I shouldn't claim the status of an expert. So let's say we are all learning. Okay?
Well, you studied the law.
Yes. So basically, it's the case that by the Constitution, it's the NMC that appoints the chairman and other governing members, of the governing boards of public corporations. So look that back to 168. So if you look at it, to the extent that this company, is going to have the transmission system, which is owned by GBC, and then the one they are building actually on their own. So let's say the one they are building, to the extent that government has a stake in it, you see that there's everything to be said for the fact that the NMC should be the one to appoint the governing board. So you have the board of directors, all those persons. So NMC certainly must have a stake, because once any part of it, that's to say that to the extent that government has an interest in the project, NMC must be part, because you cannot take out the NMC. Otherwise, you see that the Constitution says that the NMC should also insulate state-owned media from governmental control. You say, So with that construction of the transmission system and the villages that are to benefit and all that, you must have the NMC in the picture so that they would appoint the board and then perform all the other regulatory functions that they ordinarily perform. But apart from that, there's the issue of the national security angle. That's to say that it's usually not safe to have your transmission system in the hands of foreigners. It's something that's usually best practice around the world, that there are certain key installations that you would prefer that the indigenous hold, so that you don't usually find it as hard law. They don't write it in an act of parliament that a foreigner shouldn't hold this key installation. But in practice, it's best practice for indigenous to hold key strategic institutions, key strategic assets.
Right. Which is why Giba, for example, probably is not very happy with what's happening at the moment. But Mr. Kpebu, are there any legal options available to organizations like Giba? What would that be?
So it means that naturally, after consulting and engaging with government, if it doesn't work out, then Giba could consider the option of suing. But I strongly believe that with engagement and, basically engaging the government, I believe Giba will get results. Because, you see, earlier on this morning, I followed the program you had on Joy FM. I overheard the deputy minister saying that they hadn't given out any license to the company yet, the Chinese company yet. So he was even wondering why would people have...
Well, what happened was that the minority member of parliament for Ningo Pram, who is also the minority spokesperson member on the communications committee in parliament, said that he had documents to prove that government has actually already signed this contract with Star Times. The deputy minister then said that he did not confirm or reject that, but he said that the actual work that has to be done to give that contract the life has not been done.
Okay, good. So
does that give you any clarity at all about what is happening, whether or not this contract has been awarded indeed?
Yeah, so with what you're saying, definitely to the extent that it hasn't gone to Parliament, I know even for that company, once it's a foreign entity, and then I'm aware that there's a part of it that they have to take a loan, it would appear that I would say that perhaps we should just keep engaging because, as you stated, they haven't fulfilled all the condition precedents to giving the contract the requisite validity. So it's good. It's good that Giba is up in good time because you have to really act quickly, timeously. I believe if they keep engaging the government, definitely they will get good results. Because, you see, one thing that is clear is that, Gifty, once this transmission system is a key national asset and it has a very strategic purpose, you know, when you transmit radio signals and all that, okay, the radio and TV content is of a strategic importance. So nobody would readily agree that you give it away to foreigners. No, that's one. Any day, Giba would have a lot of, not just sympathy, there will be a lot of people who would stand up to say that Giba has something to say. So let Giba continue engaging government, and I believe that we will get good results.
Hey, hold on for me, Mr. Martin Kpebu. I'll take your final words, but let me go to you, Mr. Brahima. The NMC has also raised concerns that the current arrangement may amount to government interference and that it will infringe on some level of media independence. Is this something that sits well with you? To what extent, even?
Well, from a non-legal point of view, I at this stage wouldn't say that without the involvement, I mean, the NMC certainly would have to be involved in processes. But in terms of the management of the spectrum, because here we are talking about the management of the spectrum, I think, I mean, all the countries that I have read about their digital migration processes, it's always been the government ministry that has led the process in terms of making sure that policies are developed, if we require legislation that is developed and so on and so forth. But of course, it is important that the National Media Commission, given their constitutional mandate and role, would be involved in the process so that at least the constitutional provisions that ensures that media should be insulated from state control and all of that is guaranteed. And indeed, it is from that perspective that this whole Star Times thing is quite worrying, because in countries like South Africa, where Chinese have stake in media, censorship is kicking alive and well. Recently, there's a U.S. columnist who wrote about, who has a column in a Chinese media outlet, and wrote something about how certain groups are being treated in China in terms of human rights and so on. Immediately, they suspended the column just because the person has written something unfavorable about China. And as I said, this is a Chinese agenda. It is meant to consolidate their footprints in Africa. And I only hope that our leaders wouldn't sell us for cheap in terms of managing our spectrum. Right. As Martin was saying, this has something to do with our national security as well. And it is my hope that our leaders would not, as I said, sell us for cheap.
So whilst we're hoping, what do you think is the way forward?
Well, I think that the way forward is that this whole thing, once there is lack of clarity and there is sufficient evidence to suggest that there hasn't been transparency in the process, I believe that it is either all the stakeholders are brought on the drawing table, they all, share their thoughts, the matter is discussed quite thoroughly, and if it means that we have to suspend the entire process, it should be suspended. And as I said, it has been something that has been ongoing all the way to a point where there was a national digital migration policy. We need to revisit that rather than hurrying up and maybe through some influence from the Chinese and the Star Times group trying to, allow ourselves to be manipulated into the hands of the Chinese.
Mr. Kpebu, what's the way forward from your perspective?
I think the GIBA should continue engaging government. That is it. GIBA should continue engaging government, because once they've raised all the issues, I think in yesterday's newspaper they had about 6 pages or so. That is the right way to go. And as media, Gifty, you guys need to give this case the necessary traction, because you know that usually once it's playing out in the air and the general public is following, it also helps government to act quickly. So that it should be a two-pronged approach. GIBA should wage a very strong media campaign and also engage government well.
Would you recommend anything on the part of parliamentarians, for example?
Yes, definitely. So when I say engage government, so I'm expecting that to the extent that the agreement hasn't come into force yet, government first. But also it doesn't hurt for them to approach the committee, the parliamentary committee on communications, the one Sam George serves on. Yes, it's also good. So maybe it should be an eclectic approach from all angles.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this evening here on Top Story. Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner. Suleiman Abrahima is the executive director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. They're joining the conversation with us. But Emefa Apau has News Night coming up. Top Story is brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion. Gassem, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting. Ready? A nationwide medical health insurance, your healthcare family. My name is Gifty Ando Apia.
Superior services, your success our portion. Trusted, innovative financial services, providing affiliation, support and solutions. Customer-oriented, superior services, your success our portion. 10 good years of loyalty, service with integrity, protective of our guardian brand. 10 years of excellence, 10 years of loyalty. Your success, our passion. Oh yeah, your success, our passion.
Your success, our passion.
Don't come here, don't come in. Hey, 10 pesos, 10 10 pesos. Vodafone is 10 years old and is giving you an anniversary gift of 10 times bonus and 10 pesos call rate across networks. Browse for 10 pesos per megabyte. Call Vodafone or any other network at the same rate of 10 pesos per minute. That's not all, oh. Share your scratch card with 2 more people the Kikimi style, and the 3 of you will each enjoy 10 times the value of your card. Dial *135# to subscribe. Terms and conditions apply.
The future is exciting. Ready?
Hey, Yinchi. I noticed that all the national stadia in Ghana have lasted for decades.
Oh, yes. But do you also know that the concrete bridges are also decades old?
Yes.
Only one company in Ghana can give you that guarantee, and that is Gasem.
Cement that guarantees smooth finishing of plastering.
That is the Gasem Super Rapid 32.5R. If you want to have strong blocks for any form of construction, use Gasem Super Strong 42.5R. For your time-tested bridges like the Adome, multi-story buildings, highways like the motorway, then it is Gasem Extra 42.5N.
And the good news is, all these cement products are made right here in Ghana.
Gasem, 3 cement grades, unique quality. Gasem, the nation builder.
Nationwide Medical Insurance, the leader in private health insurance, has deployed superior technology to make your healthcare experience more convenient and exciting. With the Nationwide mobile app, you can order your prescription drugs and we will deliver to your doorsteps. With over 600 dependable healthcare service providers, you're just a step away locating your service provider of choice and accessing hospital claim information in real time. Our corporate clients are guaranteed timely corporate utilization reports. We provide on-site clinics to give employees access to healthcare in the comfort of their offices. Enjoy these amazing benefits and so much more by signing on to Nationwide Medical Insurance today. Call us on toll-free number 0800-222222 or visit our website www.nationwidemh.com. Nationwide Medical Insurance. Join the healthcare family.
In this part of the world, we rise early, way before the sunrise. We plan, we pray, we prep, just so we are a step ahead. We keep the conversations going to stay connected to family, friends, and business. They say, Agrobeswa Ifrianopa, start your day bright with MTN Kokroko. For only 1 Ghana cedi, you can enjoy 400 megabytes of data and 30 minutes of free MTN to MTN calls every day from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. everywhere you go. Dial *138# to buy MTN Kokroko bundle now.